when it comes to the NBA, I know that Sam and I have a lot to share. I know that Ben has some stuff to share. So let's hop into, Sam, which series do you want to dive into first? Do you want to do the Eastern or the Western?
So I don't know if you've seen this, but as we're recording this, Boston is up 23-4 on Miami right now.
23-4. Wow.
It's like a varsity versus JV game.
Yeah, I've got it right now. Okay, so since you mentioned them, we'll start with the Eastern Conference real quick. That that game 3 the other day, and I know that game 4 is happening right now as we're recording, but that game 3 was so overly dramatic for so many different reasons. And I'm not going to discount the Jimmy Butler injury, and I'm not going to discount the Marcus Smart thing and the Jason Tatum thing. But man, it felt like there was a lot happening in that game. And for the Heat to play the way that they did, even without Jimmy Butler, that surprised me. That surprised me a lot, because with Jimmy being their primary scorer, it was one of those things where I was sitting back and I was like, I don't know who's going to be their primary shot maker, but I think having Kyle Lowry back in the lineup was a big help for them. And then Bam Adebayo had 31 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. So, I mean, let me check the who's playing. Okay, so Jimmy Butler, he is playing tonight, so he's all good. What was your biggest takeaway from that game? Because that was mine. That surprised me that they were able to produce that much offense against Boston defense without Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think Boston's just, and man, this take would have been so much better 20 minutes ago, but I think they might be running out of gas a little bit with how tough of a road they've had in these playoffs, going through Brooklyn, through Milwaukee, and now playing Miami. I think it's just so tough for them to continue on this pace, especially with guys being in and out of the lineup that are so important, and Smart and Horford, and guys getting banged up in different ways. Obviously tonight, it seems like it's not being that big of a deal, but I think that's definitely a factor that is playing a little bit of a role in this series for Boston.
Yeah, well, and to that point, Marcus Smart isn't even playing tonight. Derek White started in place for him. So they went big with their lineup, because they have Al Horford and Robert Williams out there starting tonight together. Yeah, I mean, that very well could be the case. I mean, the Celtics had to go through the Nets, then they had to go through the Bucks, and so maybe, I mean, if you think about it, if you were to poll who most people thought were the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference at the beginning of the playoffs, I imagine it probably would have been those 3 teams, and Boston had to beat both of them. So, and what do they get as a reward for that? They get the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, and that's the Miami Heat. So I think one of the things that got oversold at the beginning of this was, or actually I should say undersold, was how good Miami actually is, because I know that their road to the Eastern Conference Finals maybe wasn't as tough, but at the end of the day, they're still the number 1. They were still the number 1 seed, and that has to count for something.
Right, definitely. I think the way they came out in at least the first 3 games, I think shut everyone up, and especially with how well Jimmy Butler played against Boston's defense, I think definitely puts away all doubt that they were legit and for real and in our powerhouse and deserve to go to the NBA Finals. I really just want Boston to win this series and make it to the finals so they can play Golden State, because I think that is the series that needs to happen this year and is going to be so good. I think that is carbon copy of Milwaukee Phoenix last year. It's going to be so tightly contested.
I'm looking at the stats right now, and Miami is 2 for 17. They're 11% right now from the field. Ben, quick thoughts on this series. I know you haven't spent a ton of time watching this series, but just broad strokes over what your takes are.
It was the more compelling series for sure out of the 2. I would like to see it get a little bit more competitive. I mean, if Boston's going to take care of business tonight, have a 3-game series, I'm looking forward to getting into that. I was thinking during the Milwaukee-Boston series, whoever won that series was probably making it to the championship to most likely face the Warriors. I think if Boston can somehow stay healthy-ish, I'm sure Golden State's going to get lots of rest. But I agree with Sam. I would love the finals to be Boston, Golden State. I think that would be a very fun series. But yeah, I mean, like, truly, I just hope, Boston can stay somewhat healthy and finish it out. And it'd be cool to see it go to game 7 too. I'm not sure, but it's definitely the more compelling of the two, in my opinion, obviously.
So what do you guys think about this? If Boston, excuse me, holy smokes, that snuck up on me.
Jason, okay?
Sorry. If Boston gets through Miami and they get to the finals, and let's say they do end up winning, they beat the Warriors. I'm sorry. Let me mute my mic for half a second.
Nice cough button.
Thank you. Anyway, if they get past Miami and they get to the finals and they beat Golden State, can we look back at this playoff run for Boston? Would we be able to say that this is one of the best playoff runs that we have seen in a long time, to go through the Nets and then go through the Bucks and then go through the number 1 seed Heat and then to beat the Warriors with Clay, Steph, Draymond, and now even Poole? Would that be, and Wiggins, who is playing really well, would that be one of the best playoff runs we've seen in recent memory?
I'll go quick, Sam. I would say it's got to be. I would say, just in the sense, and this is like hypothetical, obviously, but from the 2 series so far, you dismantle the Nets, which is very impressive. Like, didn't even make that a contest for 4 games. And then you dethrone the defending champions, knock them out. That's in itself a hugely successful and tough playoff run. So I would say if they can somehow pull this off, like just those 2 series alone, and then if you win the next 2, like, sure, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I'm looking at these teams and I'm looking at the players that have to go through. I mean, you'd be going through Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, then you'd be getting through Giannis, who is the best player in the league. Then you'd be getting through Jimmy Butler, and then you'd be getting through Steph, Clay, and Draymond. That is a tough road, Sam. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best runs of all time. Just with how deep the NBA is right now, and the fact that they were able to play outside of like LeBron James, pretty much all the big names in the NBA, they had to go through directly to win. There was no, hey, these guys got injured and we missed them. They're playing them directly. They play the second best player in the world, Kevin Durant, sweep them. They play the best player in the planet, Giannis, beat him. They play a guy that's, I guess, one of the clutchest performers in the playoffs, and Jimmy Butler, who's it's just crazy how he's been able to evolve his game, and they're able to somehow get past them and then beat. I mean, we grew up with the Warriors as a dynasty. That's the team. That is the empire to us, and it's like they were able to beat that team that was playing at pretty much full strength. I think it's got to be one of the best playoff runs of all time.
Yeah, if they're able to do it, then I think it'd be hard to argue that wouldn't be one of the better playoff runs that we've seen in NBA history. So that is the Eastern Conference. Let's hop over to the Western Conference real quick. The less compelling series, in the sense that the games up until, I mean, even game 3, it was close, but it got close. But I never really felt like the Warriors lost grip of that game, even though it was pretty tight. What do we think about Luka? What do we have to say about Luka out of this series? There were questions that I were hearing last week about if Luka brings the Mavericks to the championship, is he really in conversation for maybe the best player in the league? I don't think he's anywhere near Giannis in the sense that I just can't get over the fact that what Giannis gives you on offense and defense, that for whatever reason, just to me, I don't think as great as Luka is on offense, the equilibrium there is just way off. Do you guys think this is more of just the Mavericks just not having enough firepower to go up against the Warriors, or because I don't think it's fair to blame this series on Luka. I think this is just the Mavericks are just they're just outgunned.
Yeah, I think you said it. I mean, Luka's going to be a first teamer for his entire career, and whether if he's on the Mavericks for however long or another team, like I mean, shoot, they're going to win a lot of games, and they might not win a lot of playoff series, but they're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, I think it comes down to this series is completely predicated on Golden State's defense centered around getting the ball out of Luka's hands. You see a lot of 3-2 zone, a lot of zone play to where two guys are pretty much focused on Luka the whole time, and guys aren't making shots. Finney-Smith, Bullock, Dinwiddie was hitting yesterday. Brunson played a lot better in the first half, but Kleber, Berton, these guys aren't hitting. They weren't hitting yesterday, and they had a lot of wide open looks. If you saw that game, because Luka's getting double teamed, he was still able to get his. It's not his fault. I think he's getting the classic superstar treatment where he doesn't have that running mate with him, really.
Well, to put it into perspective, the Warriors had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had 8 players score in game 3. They had 5 players score in double digits. And if you go over to the Mavericks side, Doncic had 40, Brunson had 20, and Dinwiddie had 26. Mm-hmm. But outside of them, there were only 3 other players on the team that scored, and none of them had more than 10 points. So, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good representation of what Luka kind of has going for him right now. Now, granted, the Mavericks just had a bad shooting night. I think Bullock was like 0 for 5,000. He's still missing shots right now. But it's because of the hairdo. It just comes down in front of his face, and he can't see. Like,
he's a great shooter. Come on.
No, he is a good shooter, and everybody has a bad night. But I mean, yeah, I think I know we still talk about that LeBron series that he lost against Dallas, ironically. But in terms of this going on Luka's like ledger, I don't know if this would be fair down the road to put this on his ledger just because of who they're going up against.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, he's done everything he's been asked to do. I don't think he's had a bad game this playoffs. If you can think of one, tell me, because I can't think of one.
Relatively speaking, I mean, he didn't play great in game 1 of this series, but I mean, he's still, that was game 1 against Golden State. They were coming out so hot. He's still at 20.7 rebounds and 4 assists. I mean, by his standard, it's not amazing.
It's not a great game, but it's not like he didn't like contribute. You know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we know what you mean, though.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad you do. Sometimes I'm worried.
We're talking about this series as if it's over, and granted, it feels like it's over. It feels like it's over, yes, but
Dallas wins the next game, and then Golden State seals it out. That's it.
I don't know. I think they might sweep them.
Yeah, I think
they might sweep them.
Dallas got a lot of good looks. At some point, those open shots have to go in.
You'd think.
It's at home.
So it was yesterday.
Second time's the charm, I guess.
Yeah. Well, regardless of what ends up happening, I think we're pretty much guaranteed. If the Warriors get out of this, and we're pretty confident that they're going to, regardless of who comes out of the East, I think it's still going to end up being a pretty compelling finals. Yeah, does that seem?
Agreed.
I think the Warriors dog wash Miami.
Really?
I don't think they do.
I don't think they roll over Miami.
I think they do. I think it's not even close.
Man, and Miami's Miami like Spoelstra is like legit.
He's one of the best coaches in the league.
I don't think they get rolled. I don't think they're. Yeah.
I think that series goes to 6.
Exactly. I was just gonna say Golden State wins that series with Miami 4-2 probably, but like it's a competitive 4-2.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree.
It's a 4-0 sweep. Average point differential, 15 points.
I agree. Golden State's never gonna lose another game.
Yes, man. Don't worry, man. Your Golden State Warrior jersey's in the mail. It's already getting shipped to you.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna get you a Steph one.
No, give me a Draymond Green one.
Anyway. Thank you all so much for watching episode 134. If you stuck around for part 2, we really do appreciate it. Babe, thanks again for coming on the show for the 7th time.
Appreciate it. Sam, quick question. Champions League. Man City or Real Madrid Saturday?
I want to see Real Madrid win.
Me too.
That'd be really cool
That's
for
all.
Benzema to take it home.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, cool. You're welcome, Keegan.
Oh man, well, I hope Keegan's listening. All right, so thank you all so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you all for 135.
Go Kings.